It began in silence. Long before the museum doors opened for visitors, before official cameras arrived, the Princess of Wales moved softly among rows of artifacts, clipboard in hand. The staff recognized her, not in the grand regalia of state, but as a woman profoundly changed, wrapped in a cashmere shawl against lingering chills, exhausted yet propelled by a focus that cut through gloom. She paused before a battered soldier's sketchbook, laid beside a fragment of stained glass. What stories does this carry? She wondered, tracing the cracked spine. It was these quiet moments, unwatched, unrecorded, that shaped the soul of the makers and creators exhibition. Every object was debated, not just for its history, but for its echo in the present. 2. Home as a studio, family as muse. The Wales home thrummed with the creative fever spilling from Catherine's work. Charlotte, radiant with curiosity, begged to examine a Victorian sampler, her own small hands replicating stitches of lost centuries. George, balancing the self-consciousness of puberty and the gravity of kingship, grew reflective. Will people think I'm weak if I show what hurts? Catherine, holding his gaze, replied, strength lives in the telling, not in the hiding. William, sometimes late from meetings with statesmen, other times quietly present, watched his wife transform pain into purpose. The couple's private conversations, once weighted with fear of relapse, gradually turned to possibility. Could art be a lasting bridge between palace walls and a country's wounded spirit? Louis, youngest and freer, constructed makeshift castles from cardboard and gold foil, announcing, "This is for Mummy's museum." Unaware that this play, too, was a balm for a house learning to hope again. 3. The nation's reflection, art, loss, and Britain's soul. Across the country, the impact snowballed. Teachers constructed lesson plans for children whose parents were ill or grieving, using Catherine's example to spark honest conversations about fear, loss, and resilience. Hospital support groups hosted field trips to the V&A East, finding in the exhibition a rare permission to discuss suffering outside sterile wards. Meanwhile, makers and creators hit record attendance. Press reviews, first analytical, soon effusive, dubbed the initiative Britain's Heart on Display. Cancer survivors left notes pinned to the palace gates, their handwriting shaky but grateful. "You helped us come back, too." The ripple reached Parliament. MPs began referencing the exhibition in discussions over the National Health Service, PTSD support for veterans, therapy in schools, art funding for social services. Never before had a royal project so directly shifted public conversation toward collective healing and the value of creative work. 4. International resonance, the Windsor Signal. From Canada to Australia, America to Kenya, cultural attachés requested temporary loans of key pieces. A Japanese delegation, inspired by Catherine's blend of wabi-sabi aesthetics and post-illness endurance, proposed a joint exhibit for 2027 focused on golden scars, beauty in the broken. In France, a cancer awareness campaign cited the princess's televised interviews as turning points in eroding stigmas around illness and mental health. Hollywood screenwriters pitched miniseries based not on royal trysts, but on the psychological labyrinth of recovery. New York museums hosted roundtables titled, Leading While Broken, The Princess Catherine Revolution. 5. The palace churns, tradition versus renewal. Within the monarchy itself, the shift became tectonic. Some among the old guard, clingingly loyal to protocols forged during Edward VII's empire, or Elizabeth II's silent strength, felt unmoored as Catherine championed imperfection as inheritance. They whispered skepticism at banquets. They redrafted memos emphasizing stoicism and caution. Yet a new class of courtiers, many under 40, rallied eagerly to the banner. Social media teams, long restricted to bland updates, now celebrated visitor sketches and children's essays inspired by the exhibition. Younger royals called for more hands-on outreach, pop-up workshops, artist residences at Windsor, podcasts led by former patients and creators. William, watching this generational collision, privately told Catherine that her legacy was already bigger than any crown, a healing that travels through families, not just palaces. 6. Moments of doubt, glimmers of triumph. Not every day was triumphant. The princess, still susceptible to exhaustion, still wrestling with post-treatment anxieties, occasionally withdrew to her private studio, lights dimmed, music faint. She kept a second journal, one never seen by press or aides, recording doubts, relapses, dreams drenched with old fear. But then letters arrived, voices on the radio praised her honesty, children's artwork lined the entrance to the exhibition space. Catherine, finding her reflection in a shadowed museum glass, recognized not the perfect, scripted princess, but a woman remade, a leader whose cracks had quietly fused into golden seams. 7. The exhibition evolves, from museum to movement. The exhibition expanded, becoming a living program. Survivor-led art classes, makers' circles for the bereaved, monthly seminars on vulnerability and strength. The palace, inspired, announced a national Creativity in Recovery grant, new funding for hospital art therapy, and a partnership with universities to study the psychological effects of public storytelling. George and Charlotte helped launch the online Story Scar archive, soliciting anonymously submitted tales of overcoming among Britons from all walks of life. 8. The People's Princess again, but differently. The public narrative shifted with an intensity unseen since Diana. But where Diana's impact was a tidal wave of emotion, Catherine's was more slowly woven, a tapestry of shared experience, dignity alongside pain, the courage to return rather than to rebel. The BBC produced a landmark documentary, interlacing Catherine's recovery with the unfolding exhibition, interviews with participants, and opinions from psychologists, art historians, and frontline caregivers. The final scene, Catherine, surrounded by children, gently repairing a torn bookbinding, became the year's defining royal image. 9. The monarchy's future, from symbol to service. As the first anniversary of Makers and Creators approached, commentators widely declared the monarchy irreversibly changed. To many, the crown's renewed survival now depended not on elaborate pageantry, but on the sustaining warmth and creative candor modeled by the princess. Parliament debated a new royal charter, proposing that the arts and mental health become explicit strands in future heirs' training, the Catherine Clause, they called it informally. Other royal houses, Scandinavia, Spain, Jordan, sent delegations, hoping to capture the essence of this Windsor Renaissance. For a time, British royalty set the pace for global conversations on leadership and healing. 10. The heirloom of hope, your role, our response. Ultimately, the most profound measure of Catherine's expanded journey and the exhibition's triumph is the call to all viewers to see themselves as participants, co-creators, and inheritors of a culture that values not perfection, but the light that seeps through the fractured places. So, the invitation stands. Reflect in the comments. Contribute your story. Share your own maker's moment in art, survival, or compassion, so that Catherine's spark becomes a shared, ever-growing fire. Subscribe, return often, and watch with us as the story continues, because as Princess Catherine walks forward, every step shines a little brighter for thousands watching, daring, and healing in kind. In this age, perhaps that is a queen's greatest achievement, not to reign apart, but to help remake a people, one grace-filled breakthrough at a time.